Here we
Wow.
go. Yeah, we are live now. Let me give it a couple of minutes because of has it begun? Hello, Wendy Ziegler. No, it hasn't begun, but we're about to formally roll the show out here in just a second as soon as Facebook catches up with us. Let's see. Yeah, they're not there yet. Let me just check it. Make sure we're good.
I love your butterfly, by the way. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's another story. That definitely has a Pleiadian, Syrian, everything, everything to it. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we're live. Let me check the sound. Definitely has we're good. All right. Hello, everybody. We're gonna roll the show out here in a second. Let me double check. Okay. Yeah, let's give people about another minute and let them get in. Hello, Peter Ritson, Don Hilliker, Wendy Ziegler, Donna Davin, Diane Jeffers. Boom to you, Angela Williams. All right, Dana Gilman. Yeah, they're coming in now. Yeah, Cricket Holden, thank you for the contribution. Michelle Phillips, I love your weekly show that's developing. Oh, I'm getting chills. Well, we got them all around us. Christine Brown, Michael Woods, Shaz Hargaves, just tuning in. Sound is good. Sue Baxter Fitz. Okay, we got 24 people in the house. About another 30 seconds, we'll have about 40. Kelly Jean McGrain, boom. Everybody's booming today. The love is booming. Colleen Burke Shot, yeah. All right. Hey, May Britt, how you doing? Norway's in the house. All right. Had some great shows today, but we are ending the day with a beautiful divine goddess that many of y'all know. There's some new faces out there. Renata Rare from Athens, Greece. Yes, Shannon McMillan Thompson. All right, Donna Davin, if you can't hear what I'm saying, go out and come back in. You'll get it. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Todd Medina. This is the Soulogy Network. This is our flagship broadcast every day. We do several a day, and we do our best to bring out our purest intentions and highest unconditional love. This is an energy we call Soulogy. It's another word for the things that we share, for what we share, pure love. It is my honor on Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation with Unity Grace today. I just want to say publicly, Unity, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us today.
Thank you so much, Todd, and everyone. I feel like so honored, and I feel the love and the magic in this moment together. And I just thank you so much for what you're doing for humanity, your commitment and your drive to do this, and for providing this platform for all of us to come together. I feel beyond blessed. So I'm kind of speechless.
Well, I have a feeling I've watched you a little bit, so I know you're not afraid to speak, and I'm not either. So I think we'll get through it. I got so many chills, though. I don't know what's going on here. I do. Let me tell everybody, this is our 400th episode with Unity that we've ever done as a SoulSpeak 5D program, and it's with Unity Grace, and there's no coincidence. You know, a lot of people might look at Unity Grace and say, wow, wow. But, we all got to remember we're all the same. Every one of us is the same. It doesn't matter what it looks like. But I know it's going to be interesting to hear some things about her, but also what she has to bring to the table, what she does every day. I'm thanking you on behalf of everybody for your service to humanity. But let me ask you something. Did you wake up that way, or did you wake up in the traditional way?
Well, a combination of both. Yeah, I was pretty awake when I was a little kid, and then I shut that down. But I have strong memories when I was a small child, like 3 years old, just standing and staring at people and being able to read them like a book, their past, present, future, their highest potential timelines. And around the age of 7, I started to really shut that down. I broke my neck when I was 10. I crossed over. It was my first experience with the divine. And then around 16, I started to spontaneously out-of-body travel. It terrified me. I didn't know what was happening. So I quickly shut that down. And then in my mid-30s, I started having health problems. And I had some amazing naturopaths in my life. I call them the fathers of my rebirth. And they started to kind of prod me along. And then, Source just took over, and I had kind of a series of awakenings. And then really it started December 24th, 2010. I swam in a cave on the beautiful island of Kauai called the Blue Room at sunset by myself. And when I came out of that cave, it was like full lights on. And I say that's when my two-way conversation with God started. And they basically said, good, we finally got you hooked back up. And here's what we need to do. So
get to work. Yeah. That sounds familiar. That does. That sounds a lot like no, probably maybe more intense, but like a lot of light keepers, light workers, whatever you want to call it. They wake up, they've got these abilities and skills. At some point it gets shut down and it reawakens around, give or take, around 2012, give or take. But yeah, and you've been doing the hard work, you've been doing the heavy load for a long time. You just told me before the show that you've been living out of a suitcase for 8 years. I would imagine you've been doing some grid work and a lot of other things. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on the last 8 years?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. It's been heavy lifting. It's been the heavy lifting on the grids. Basically, the last 8 years has been the unplugging of the patriarchal consciousness from the humanities network. And so it's been real heavy lifting. It's been deep trust. It's been profound miracles to encourage us along, those carrots that dangle that are so sci-fi. I say that my journey is not my journey, it's humanity's journey. I say that what comes through me is really a messenger. And it's kind of a combination of the unplugging and restructuring of the grids combined with deep dives into the DNA to help unplug, restore the DNA, and then communicate back to humanity where we're at in that process of our own unlocking from two-strand DNA. So yeah, lots of heavy lifting. I've climbed lots of military fences and no trespassing zones on the guidance. Basically, I say that water adopted me and told me where to go and what to do. And when I started to just receive the messages and listen and, place crystals in the earth and bring through the light language and move from this place to that place and listen deeply, then the confirmations started to come. The indigenous elders started to come to me and tell me that I was carrying their bundles in their sacred prophecies. And then I started to get contacted by some of the big, powerful families on the planet, some of who we may call the Illuminati, some of who we may call the Cabal, just all these private military, big oil, all of it. So my nature is oracle, and my gift is just to bring the message. It comes from a place of neutrality and non-judgment. So whoever comes to receive the message, the oracle will always give the message, but the message is not the message that speaks to the ego. The message is actually the message that's going to devastate the ego. So that's why in the movies, the oracle, sometimes they've got the oracle like stowed away in some dark chamber, and you can see them lit down at the end of the hall with veils around them, because it was really like quite terrifying to go see the oracle, because you knew if you went to see the oracle, you were about to get blasted apart.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of the journey.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. It sounds like the oracle's more like the goddess Kali. Right?
A little, yeah,
coming in to do the work, to get it, there's no nothing, no two ways about it. So yeah, you're climbing military base fences. That's even for a deep, a long awakened light worker, that's pretty it'd be hard to keep your human out of it, wouldn't it? Did you ever struggle with that in your journey?
I say that, I really say that Source kind of hijacked me. So some of the godsends on my path have been the astrologers, because when everything went from zero to miracle in like half a second flat, I started seeing astrologers, and the astrologers were like, "Oh, your chart is so divine, as though you've been abducted by God for a higher purpose. So you must listen, you must not resist." And so I really felt like for a long time that I just literally became infused with Source and was a puppet of Source. I felt like the human me, was really pushed aside. And so I kind of felt like I was floating through it all in the military fence part and the no trespassing zones. Um, when the messages first started coming through, and I would be led to these fences, and the guidance would say, "Now climb this," and I would go, "Well, it's covered in rebar and all that stuff," and the guidance would go, "No, we got your back, just do it." And then, you know, miracles would happen, ships would come, or just all kinds of nature would come, owls would come, and they would like fly down the center of the road for a mile in front of me, or it just all of these things that were so profound that it was really like walking through a fantasy story, and just trust. But so I really put my human side aside, and astrologers would always say, "Look, you're this daemon soul, but you still have this human part that you have to address, and you have to acknowledge that human part of you." And I think for a lot of us, that's kind of been the struggle inside, is because we are navigating still that human, because we're evolving the human. That's why we came. So it's definitely been a part of the journey, and I feel like it's merging for us now. It's the most beautiful union ever, is the merging.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know when my journey started, I flipped. I was like, I am not human. I am soul. I'm not a human. And then it went from that to, hey, you got these human things you need to look at. You can't just fly around up here. And then it came back out of it. Once people with multidimensional aspects, I realized, with a lot of help from my partner, you got to pull in your human aspects. You got to own all that stuff. But once I did, it went into this, like you're talking about, this integration of the soul and the human, because the human is the gift and the mission, and you're right. I love what you said about, this is why we're here. No matter what our role is, we're here to embody being a human being and elevate it in this transition we call ascension. Yeah. This is interesting, though. I have talked to a few people, mostly privately, a couple on air, in regard to what we call the Cabal, the Illuminati. And we all know that we're composed of all aspects of dark and light, and that's both internally and externally. I always wondered, because of some things that happened to me, mostly dimensional, if they knew who we were. And I'm just curious, is when they approached you, those families, did they already know who you were?
Well, when I was approached, and I really haven't spoken publicly about this part of my journey too much at all, but when I was first approached, it was interviews, and the family this is all how it ties in with the global financial shift and stuff, but the particular family that sent certain people out to find me were a family that held a prophecy that dates back to the time of the crucifixions. And so this family's prophecy had specific things in it, and said that a very specific being would reincarnate at this time, and would reincarnate as the oracle. And only only this reincarnation, only this oracle would be able to answer the questions according to the prophecy. And that this person needed to be found, because what was coming through her voice would help guide humanity through the shift. And so that particular family knew exactly who they were looking for. And at the time, there was 3 beautiful men in my life who came to me, who were sent out to find me. And we've become very, very close and very dear. And we've come from different realms and different echelons of the society. These guys were big money players. They were involved in a lot of stuff. And but we all knew when we came together that it was destiny. Yeah. Because it's, at the end of the play, everyone's coming back towards the center. And we just knew that, even though, for me, it put me in the middle of private military and big oil. And I was like, "You want me here?" And the guidance was like, "This is exactly where we want you, because it's the most." And one of my dear friends in that, who's positioned in a very primary place on the planet with a global financial shift, when he introduces me on calls and stuff, he always says, "This is Unity Grace," and I didn't know what love was before I heard her voice.
Wow.
So we've all, this is how the play completes, is that we're all reaching for each other, drawing each other back towards the center, away from the extremes of the polarity, so that as we meet closer to the center, to the singularity, everyone's gifts begin to awaken. And that's the beauty of it, because every single being on the planet has a role to contribute at this level. Everyone.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I've met some people, like I said, that were in that 1%, and the way I see it is that their makeup may have been predominantly, let's say, the masculine, falsely empowered masculine energy, but at the same time, they still had a percentage of them, like it seems like these folks that you met, that had their eye on the light, and that was because, for a lot of light workers, when they first wake up, it's 9/11, it's this, it's that, like, oh my God, this is what's going on, what's been happening, and you go through that anger mode and that rebel mode, and then you finally go, wait a minute, I'm just feeding the monster if I do that, so you start to integrate it. But that's fascinating. Now you mentioned the financial aspect, and I don't know if you know anything about this. I have a feeling you do, and if you want to discuss it or can, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. I'm not attached, but I hadn't heard anyone talk about this in a while. Everybody was talking about the RV. Everybody's talking about the financial reset. And I look at a lot of stuff out there myself, and I say, okay, well, that might be psyops, and that might be legit. And, that can be in light worker circles. That can be in anywhere, especially now with so much change in the air. But where does that stay? And again, not to get caught up in the collective, but we are doing this together. Even though the ascension is a personal, individual thing, but still we're all connected. Like you said, we're all going back to the center. Where does that play out with this thing? Is the plan for it to really be financially reset? Do we have the consciousness to be able to hold that space after all we've been through?
Yeah, and it's such a great question. So here's what the guidance is explained. That so as an oracle, one of the things that I had to learn that started in 2011 was to give my voice box back to the divine, and that was the inner struggle, just to allow the divine to speak through me, so that little human part of me down here is always listening to what's coming through as well. And so I'm going, wow, that makes so much sense. So one of the things that used to come through me when I would be on these big financial calls and stuff is I would always say, this has nothing to do with money and everything to do with love. It's a grassroots movement. It's starting from the bottom up, and it's been going on for eons of time. And when the tsunami wave hits, watch out, because Gaia doesn't need another gold standard to go through her ascension process. That's a makeup of the mind. It doesn't mean that the financial aspect of it is negative in any way. We're in a symbolic reality. Everything is symbolic. But the point being is that every symbol is designed to bring us back to one thing: unity, consciousness, love, the unification of all of things. And so in 2015, one of my grid missions was to Egypt, and it tied in with the blood moon lunar eclipses. We had 4 blood moons in a row. Yeah. The first blood moon was, it was known as the time that would be the coming of the basically, the falling away of the old. And so on that day of, actually it was the 3rd blood moon, April 4th, 2015, and we were going into the Great Pyramid that day, and in the morning the guidance said, today we bring the age of Pisces to an end, and if we build enough momentum, in 2 years we'll have a Buddhic awakening. And so I talked about it on podcasts, and the guidance would keep urging me to get out there as the resistant oracle and say to people, do your work, because this Buddhic awakening is coming. And when it comes, you're not going to know who you are, because the lesser Akash, the earthly Akash, is going to fall away. Yeah. So the earthly Akash holds all the soul body of humanity. And the soul body is made up of the archetypes, it's made up of the planets, it's made up of all the astrology, it's everything that's been made up for this reality. And the guidance said, if enough of us activate love, it'll fall away. So it was actually June, right now. I was sent back to the island of Kauai 2 years ago. This 2016 on this day. I was flying to Kauai because guidance said we did it. Critical mass was reached, and there was a new moon on the 4th of June. I think it was a new moon. And I had to be in Mount Waialeale, the wettest spot on the planet, because guidance said critical mass was reached, meaning enough of us chose love. So this all ties in with the finances, but I'll just explain it a little bit step by step. Then a year ago in May on Wesak, that's the festival that the Buddhists celebrate. And basically you could say that Buddha comes down from the heaven to ignite the Christ within. And so last year was the year that we were going to see, did we manage a Buddhic awakening on the planet? Now the level of the Buddha body takes us out of our self-identity, out of our soul, and takes us into universal love. We love a blade of grass as much as we love our child. It's a huge transformation, and it's what's required for a collective to ascend collectively. And so we know that we had the Buddhic awakening last year because on that day, the 10th of May, 2017, the heartbeat of the earth, known as the Schumann resonance, jumped from 10 to 12 hertz or 12 to 15 hertz beats per minute to 130 beats, highest ever recorded.
Wow.
Therefore, on that day, the guidance said we collapse 7 generations of timelines into one, into the rose line, which is connected to love. Therefore, had we played out 7 more generations of timelines, we would have needed to focus more on the global financial shift. But we unlocked the true free energy, which is love. It's us. We are the greatest technology. The greatest technology is the technology of love. So for anyone who can really receive what's coming through me here, the point being, go within. The currency is in here. And the more of us that get that, the more that we are going to transcend the belief that we need a middleman called a dollar to create. Think golden apple, produce golden apple in the palm of the hand, thought reality into form. That's the jump we're at. And today and yesterday are very significant. I'll talk more about it. But so the point being, we don't need the currency anymore if enough of us get the power that's already open and available within us.
Wow. That's totally right. Totally. I get a little feedback. That's all right. But yeah, that totally resonates because it was still in our face, and it was in our face. And I kept going, that just doesn't make sense. Everyone's going to get this huge 6-figure balance, and I can see debt being forgiven and this and that. But this so makes sense. Even considering, by the way, that the linear timeline, something happens energetically, it's going to happen further down the road, so the human may not see it right away, but that's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. Great explanation. Thank you for that. My partners made the comment golden apples, and when you said that, I was thinking the same thing because I think it was about 6 weeks ago, she got back from Australia here, maybe a week went by, and we were having a session, and we were shown this tree. And on that day, I guess our reconnecting and coming together and taking ownership, I guess, of kind of caretaking for Soulogy, it was birthed. And they showed us that this was birthed, and it was a separate entity now. So they show us this tree, and that the divine love from us and others feeds this tree, and it starts to bear these golden fruits, right? And so now that's just gone on and on and on, and it's just exploding. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's turning your back on the 3D aspect, but I love the way you explain it with there doesn't have to be the middleman called money, Yeah, this is real fascinating. You said you were going to elaborate on something, and I wanted to make sure that you did. Do you remember what it was?
Okay, well, I guess I'm not sure if I remember what it was, but I know the guidance is tweaking me to add these pieces. So to just build a little bit more on the whole financial thing and so on, the golden apple, the golden seed. So what happened in the month of March this year over the Easter time was that in linear time, we go through cycles. Each one of those cycles, there's windows, there's opportunities to leap beyond the cycles, to leap out of the linear time frame. And so this March, we collectively, once again, critical mass was reached. Enough of us were at a level within our own decoding that we removed ourselves from the bond or the bondage or the crucifixion of time and space, because that's what crucifixion is really about, is the spirit being bound to the cross of time and space. So over the Holy Week, Santa Shemana, or Samana as it's called, we actually were able to unlock ourselves out of that linear time frame. So what the guidance showed was that on the 9th of March, the matrix went down. The actual artificial intelligence matrix that most of humanity has been plugged into for a long period of time. And then basically as the matrix went down, then that freed up a lot of the energy within us to begin to like move up the climbing wall really, really quickly. And the guidance showed that had we not basically achieved these certain gateways and portals as we did, AI, artificial intelligence, would have won over humanity's consciousness. Because if we had gone the route of crypto to the extent that it was all being set up, we would have been giving our agreement back to the machine itself. Humanity basically would have flipped itself from the old currency and economic system and basically collectively handed over its consciousness back to the machine, because the whole crypto and Bitcoin and all of that was run through the artificial intelligence. And so the heart achieved its goal, which was to, enough of us said, no, I remember quantum physics. I remember the power of my thought to create form. Enough people were activating that on the planet. And so that's just a really important piece to put in here with the thing about the middleman and money. And once again, middleman and money is not bad. It's all symbolic. It's just that that was our collective achievement over the Easter holiday. So we've had many more significant jumps. Oh, I know, to yesterday and today was the other part, but I'll just pass it over to you for a sec.
No, you go right ahead. This is fascinating.
Okay. So as I mentioned, a lot of my work tied in with the grids also has to do with the decoding of the genes. And so the I Ching, and then a great book called The Gene Keys, which I always share. It's like the modern day version of the I Ching. It was written by a man named Richard Rudd. And it's like the modern day version of the I Ching. So the I Ching was, here's a way to describe it. We're in a play. We've been in the play for a long time. Everyone has a role in the play. You act in a play long enough, you kind of just start to think that you're the character in the play. So Richard Rudd brought back the script and went, look, here's your script. How can I prove it to you? Well, just read your script and it's going to describe you to a T. How can that be? So you start to read your gene keys and you go, wait a minute, I'm a program. Like everything about me that I think I am is perfectly described in here. How can that be? At that point, the spirit begins to start to question and electromagnetically disconnect from its role in the play. It's kind of like taking an actor who's been acting out a role on stage for 20 years, taking him to detox to help him remember that he's not the character on stage.
Yeah.
So this book, The Gene Keys, I use a lot. So yesterday, so the I Ching is like a clock. So we have 64 building blocks in our human DNA, and the sun shines down on each of those building blocks for a certain period of time as it moves around like a clock. Yesterday, the sun shone down on the 35th gene, and we're in the 35th gene in linear time. from yesterday until Wednesday. The 35th gene is my favorite gene. If you got to know one gene and activate it within yourself, it's 35, because the 35th gene is the shortcut out. Every other gene in the 64 codons is like a spiral staircase. So the genes, our blueprints, our personalities are like a Jacob's ladder. We came into this personality and we got to walk our way out of the personality. That's why sometimes it's called like awakening or enlightenment, because you're climbing up the staircase, transcending the blueprint. So the every gene, you have to walk the staircase in a designated way, except the 35th gene. The 35th gene is the shortcut out. It's the hidden secret inside all the genes. And you can move from you can move from the bottom of the staircase to the top and beyond without going through the middle of the staircase. And how do you do it? By choosing love.
Wow.
It's the end, it's the Terminator gene. And so if you choose love, and the way I describe love is just acceptance of everything that comes to me in my life with non-resistance. It doesn't mean that I approve or want to continue those energies. It just means welcoming everything as a teaching, welcoming everything as a gift from source. It's coming for a reason. And being in that knowing, that is unconditional love. And so it's kind of like that martial art of Aikido. You take the energy of it into you and you let it empower you instead of resisting or combating, fighting it. So the sun moved into the 35th gene yesterday. Now, because humanity on a critical mass level managed to shut the false matrix down, enough of us removed our consciousness from the bondage of time and space. We've taken all these leaps. This 35th gene yesterday was very, very important in linear time. You will find that there are large groups of people on the planet yesterday that started experiencing bliss, and their whole group started going off. Connectivity of massive networks came into place yesterday, because the 35th gene is about the activation of serotonin. What does serotonin do? It makes us feel happy. Yeah. It's when we feel love, serotonin starts being released. And when the right combination of serotonin is excreted in the body, it activates an alchemical process. All these delicate neurotransmitters begin to activate in the body. The only way to do it is love, not through plant medicines, not through any other way. They can all be training wheels, but this has to be through the full me and God. This is my journey. I accept everything you deliver me. I'm ready. Yeah. Then this intricate matrix of chemistry activates in the body, which shifts the physical vessel, opens it to light, shifts the auric field, and the aura, the energy body, begins to communicate with the quantum field in a completely unique way that restores our creator gifts to move in and out of form at will, our birthright. Teleportation, levitation, all these abilities to begin to work with the quantum field, with form and consciousness in a unique way. And that was activated again yesterday. And from my own witness of what's happening with networks on the planet, all these people going like, I feel so much bliss today. And all this connectivity that's happening, the love has engaged on the planet within the human vessel, within the human being, within the human race. We've done it. It's complete. And now we're riding this collective wave together, this massive tsunami. We're on the surfboard, we're in the canoe. The celebration begins because now the momentum is achieved. Every other being on the planet that has not yet activated this level of chemistry within them will be automatically sucked into this love vortex, magnetized in by virtue of resonance, because we've hit the speed of light and beyond. We hit the resonance of love, And it's like all the gateways are open now for all of life.
Wow.
That really resonates too.
So I had a question, but I think you just answered it. And that was, we have an opportunity between now and Wednesday, each one of us. But it also sounds like enough in the collective has reached this point that there's no more let go or be dragged. You let go because it's happening anyway. And it's not really even going to hurt. Yeah. See, I knew this was oh my God, the 400th episode, Unity Grace, and some great information. Wow, this is really dynamic. Are you excited? All the work you've done?
Yeah, I mean, today when I was, it's the Buddha bliss, and I was experiencing it within myself, and yes, 100% absolutely celebrating this achievement for humanity, that, that expression, love one love, the courage of the human heart to persist. And it's tear jerking. It's profound, because I feel as though the cosmos has experienced something within itself that it never knew before until this moment, of what's truly possible. And it's like a quantum leap, that it is inexpressible, it is ineffable, but it's on some kind of level that's beyond, it's beyond even this form, all forms. That's what I feel streaming into me. And I'm in deep listening, I'm in deep celebration, I'm in deep meditation. I invite everyone to continually just go within now, drop within, close the eyes, go into meditation. All of the answers are within. All the cymatics have been sent out to the butterflies. We're caterpillars. Everyone has the coding within them. There is no guru without. It's like, this is the time, and this is the time of celebration. It's the time of restitution. It's the time of relaxation. In our Western world, I always used to ask Source, because nature is our greatest teacher. And I would say, well, the monarchs, before they hatch, they're like millions of these little cocoons, and they all get to lay down beside each other. When is that going to happen in this Western world? Like, we're go, go, go. When are we ever going to slow down enough for this to occur? But it didn't take all of us to do it. It only took select groups on the planet. And when you look at all the different fractals of groups, the Buddhists, the whatever, all these, you see things going on in the world that the Western media doesn't even cover. You see kids in whatever, Bhutan, like millions of children meditating in the mornings together, all these things that we haven't been aware of, that have been pushing this wave and opening this wave. Am I excited beyond words? Am I curious? Like the innocence and purity of a child of creation? Absolutely. And what you were sharing with me about the multidimensionality before we came on, because I always said I was here to break the bonds of time, space, and gravity, and restore our birthright home to the stars. So this is where the play really begins. And what you shared about that multidimensional experience, this is a new playground.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that, and I'm with you. I'm sitting here going, what's if I use the linear time scale, what's the next month going to look like? Because it could be quantum. It's quantum leaps, literally quantum leaps, day by day. And I love what you said too about, no matter what it is, bring it into your heart. Love it just the same. Just like we learned when we did the shadow work, to love our shadows and love every single thing about us, that we didn't want to face, and this and that. And I felt this way for the last, 10 days or so, as a result of the people around me, but also as a result of some of the people I've spoken to on this show. And that has been that it's like something's occurred. It's like the human lost its dominance, or I'm not saying that we don't have to do inner work and we don't have to, but it looks different now. It's like things present themselves, they come in, they're out. They're in, they're out. It's not, it's more of a focus of a creation. Katie Indicrow yesterday said, or I think it was her, we're not on the defense, we're on the offense now. Create the magic, feed the magic. That's how we exponentially boom this thing out of where it's been. So I don't know. What do you think the rest of the year is going to look like?
Well, for a long time, my consciousness has not really resided in linear time, although I speak in linear time. There's all these different levels and cycles and ways that we communicate. My own consciousness personally has not existed in linear time, which is one of those things for many people as we transcend linear time, which is the last part of the ascension process when the consciousness, leaves the linear behind. It's what we're open to. It's what we make of it, so to speak. In linear time, one of my friends who's worked with the Chinese elders for a long time spoke for a long time about Project Jason 2018. And Project Jason was all about July, August, September, October, November, with the Royal Jubilee being December of 2018, the grand celebration. So what you expressed in your experiences that you're having, what many others are expressing in experiences that they're having, this is the time when the veils come down. So all these realms that we've been in communion with dimensionally, energetically, that children are connected to, and they see all these other realms. And then in our Western world, we've really shut down our communication. But what's happening is that our first eye is going through profound transfiguration. The whole internal system is. And as that first eye recalibrates to a higher level, we see in a very small spectrum of light. And so as the first eye is recalibrating, we will begin to see much more massive spectrums of light that are available, meaning the Elven Kingdom, the Fae, the Lord of the Rings world is going to become available to us through the eye. And not only that, but the great thing about the 35th gene, it's called Wormholes and Miracles. Richard Rudd calls it Wormholes and Miracles in his Gene Keys book, because it is the gateway to take these quantum leaps to all these different dimensions. And just leading up to, I was just in Berlin for a week for a meditation retreat with another man that I just really bow to for what he's done for humanity, Joe Dispenza, really teaching the quantum physics of the mind and teaching the science behind how to activate the body and so on. But leading up to that retreat, I took a couple of weeks and I spent time in a very dark room in my friend's flat in Barcelona and just went deeply within for a couple of weeks meditating. And, what the guidance is showing is what's coming. It's things that we can't verbalize with this language that we speak. But it is communion with all these different life forms that are vibrationally existent, that can't exist in the 3D form as we know it. But as we activate our vessels, we will be able to commune with, these orbs of light we see in pictures and so on. We can begin to see what that form actually looks like as we transform. So it's like the beginning of the great playground is opening up. And in terms of linear time, what can we expect? Well, my invitation is this: in linear time, ride this 35th gene key, take some time out right now, go within, reclaim your love affair with the divine, make the statement that you're ready to take the quantum leap into these wormholes and miracles, because the power of our word is what creates our reality. Claim our birthright back into the realms of the multidimensional or interdimensional. And then let's see what opens up. The reason the 35th gene is connected with love, it's basically saying You're not allowed access to these realms unless you can show that you understand what love is. Unless you can show your mastery, you don't get access. And that's why it's not a scary place to go. It's a dynamic, incredible place to go. And we're there now. It's like we don't have to worry about next month or tomorrow. We are here now. So in my own world, I'm practicing my teleportation. I'm getting to know my cells. I'm getting to know this light body that's birthing within me. I'm saying, like, this is the place. This is the only place I want to be right now. Is inside.
Yeah. You know, some of us have had out of bodies and NDEs, but this is an in body occurrence. Yeah.
Very.
Now, this is there's a couple of synchronicities here, and of course the 400th show is one. You being here is another one. I told you about the experience Morgan and I had last night a little bit while ago earlier in the show. What you said about love being the key. I saw the way I visualized everything, where it wasn't a vision. I mean, we were seeing it with our physical eyes. She was seeing through my face the message and the beings, family, whatever you want to call it. And I was seeing some of them in a different way, because when I looked at her, all I could see was the universe, basically. Occasionally see her face morph into different incarnations. Now, the message was that you have been all of these things, right? And that to resist any of them is to resist yourself. So it's the same message you were talking about. It was the acceptance with the love. The other thing that I find striking too is as you're saying this, what I'm getting is these tones are going off in my head. Is that we were told that as of this occurrence at 3:33 this morning, which I think lasted about 45 minutes, that the signal, the transmitting signal, the broadcasting signal of Soulogy was going to take a quantum leap. And so as you're telling me this, as you're saying this to me, I'm getting it like, okay, well, here we are, you know, just as quick as I got that stupid question out about linear time, because that really is a moot point now. You know, it's a moot point. Yeah, it's incredible. This is great information. And looking at the comments, several people have said, you know, I was confused about this, confused about that. This is a great explanation. It is. So thank you so much for explaining this to us and connecting so many dots.
Well, and if I might also add, you know, a long time ago when I started the work on the grids, the guidance said, prepare to let go of 99.999999999% of everything you've ever known. And when the guidance said that, it showed all the books, all the teachings, all the practices. It didn't matter what group, race, elder, society, religion it came from. The guidance was going, that's all been great, and you can close the book on all of it. Everyone is coming to an equal playing field. I don't care what kahuna or whoever you are. It's all complete, because the story is complete with all of that. And so that is another beautiful part of it that brings it back to this level playing field. It restores us, returns us to the curious children of the garden that we were meant to be, all at the same place together, to be curious, to explore, to go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to believe what just happened. But we all get to share it from this equal place, the common man. You don't have to be spiritual. You didn't have to take a meditation course. It's available to every single person. And that's one thing that's been really cool for me, following the work of Joe Dispenza, who's a dear friend and, you know, has really, really pulled my butt out of the shadow a few times. And I see at his events, like, he's inspiring that average person, the common man, to find the power within them, the common person. So you don't have to be special. And I think it's a really important message to say to everyone, because some people might just be coming into what they call their spirituality or their awakening right now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's available to all of us now. It has to do with the shifting of the poles on the planet, neutralizing, the roles in the play falling away. It's for all of us to explore and experience.
Yeah. Somebody said, see you on the playground.
Yeah. And the playground is right here, right now, like you say, with the message you got last night about the show taking the quantum leap. It's right here, right now. And the fun is because, you know, on my own journey, having this very mystical journey for a long time, and most of it's been on my own out in the forests or wherever, and these mystical things occur. Then you have so much of that happen and you go, this is really cool. And now I'd really love to share it with some other friends in the sandbox. That's the thing that would make it better. It's just to be able to share it. And that's so it's like I keep saying, let's just close our eyes and go like, hey, where do you want to go? Let's go to Venus. Like, close our eyes, see how we do.
Yeah.
Play.
You won't know till you try. Right?
Exactly. And the other thing is, you know, there's a lot of distraction in the world. There's 3 stop codons in the human DNA. Meaning there's as we're coming to ascension, there's 3 things that will stop us. The first one is forgetfulness, meaning we'll go back into an old cycle we've repeated a million times. The second stop codon is distraction, meaning all that stuff that the old 3D is sending at us, like parking tickets and 9 to 5 and got to clean the house before I can sit down and meditate. That's stop codon number 2, distraction. Set it all aside right now. If ever there's a time to set distraction aside, it's now. The final stop codon is vanity, meaning I am self-important and I must exist as a separate being. I want my own self-identity, and that's the final stop codon. Instead of going like, hey, I just give it all. I just want to be an equal in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 places that will get stopped.
Forgetfulness, distraction, and
vanity.
I'm important. Everyone's equal, but hey, I'm different.
Exactly. You know what? I can't believe this, but I have to run and get my cord. My computer's going to go. Can I go do that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'll leave the unicorns to.
That's okay. I want to talk to them.
Okay, cool.
You don't know till you try, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're telepath. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, fascinating show, everybody. It really is. It's a fascinating show. It's our 400th episode. Yeah. Yeah, you know, and I think the more I saw somebody put up a comment a second ago talking about this program and how they love this program. This program's not about me. As I told her earlier, you know, Morgan and I were shown weeks ago that Soulogy had been birthed and is its own energy. So I think it's a good time to come out maybe tonight or tomorrow and actually tell this story. You know, if you've got people like Unity Grace coming out here and sharing this kind of stuff with us, I think the more we share these, what the human would call supernatural experiences, the more we share them, the more we realize that this is our natural nature. This is our natural habitation. Just like she was talking about, let's close our eyes and go to Venus and let's see what happens. Well, we're not going to know unless we try. We don't have any reason to hold back anything anymore. I think the more we share the experiences we have, the more we'll realize that everybody's having them. And so I think it's time that we maybe tell the backdrop, the supernatural side, if you will, of this story. Now that we've had this excellent explanation from the unicorns and Unity Grace, because there's a lot coming together right now. There's a whole lot coming together. You good?
I'm good. And I love that, Todd. I think you basically really That's the thing now, exactly what you're saying. Everybody share your experiences, because that's what gives validation to what we're experiencing, and that's what just creates that tsunami wave. Is everyone goes, oh my gosh, like I can actually talk about this. This is real. It really is happening. Yeah. And then before you know it, everyone's talking about it, and that's what makes it real.
Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And, you know, we've had some people that are pretty well known. Rosina's done a great job. Morgan's done a great job bringing on some people that are, you know, like yourself, that are well known in these circles and beyond them. But for so long, so many of these episodes have been regular people coming on and just telling their story. And the liberation and the freedom and the infectious sovereignty vibration that's, and so it's not just let's close our eyes and go to Venus, let's see what happens. It's actually how we raise and elevate and escalate this thing is by actually the experience of doing it, you know, because it's like crossing a line. You cross it one time and you think you can't go across it, and then the next time you're like, hey, well, let's go a little further. Let's go a little further. That's how this thing's fueled. But what I've noticed in my journey, which was a very solo journey, you know, I had Morgan for almost 3 years, but most of the time she was on the other side of the world. But the thing was, I saw the magic. Now, I wasn't able to sustain it all the time, but I saw how the growth on this side, if you will, is exponential. You know, it's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 = 3, and then 6, 9, boom, and it's gone. It's in the stratosphere. So I'm with you. Let's put it out there. Our objective. We're going to New Jersey Tuesday, and so the last day of this period you're talking about, the 35th, is the 6th, which is Wednesday. And I'm not at liberty to say, but on Wednesday we're going to do something very, very special. And that's in alignment. That's not a coincidence. But over that 10-day period, we're going to launch the world's first 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week video cast with lives and replays with multiple channels available on an app. And you're looking at, it makes no sense in the 3D, but I know it's going to happen, and everything will pull together and will be launched, and people like you and normal people telling their stories and all the different parts of the rainbow will be on there 24 hours a day. Push the button and hear a story, get an injection of truth and love, freedom and sovereignty, you know? And this is how I see this thing working.
It's amazing, because that is the conclusion of the journey. I was sharing with a friend yesterday. I call this the first potluck. I say that we all came together at the Last Supper in the Tree of Life. We sat down at the Last Supper, and we knew that we were all about to head off on to our individual journeys. It's kind of like you do one of those outdoor survival camps, and everyone comes around the campfire the first night, and in the morning, everyone's sent off in a different direction into the forest to survive for 3 days on their, you know, whatever they're given. And that's kind of the journey that we've been on, is our own survival journey into the forest of the human journey, the forest of life, the journey into the human heart. And now we're coming home to the first potluck. And at the first potluck, everybody brings their most delectable morsel, the treasure from the journey. And when the guidance showed me this first potluck thing, it showed like people showing up to the door looking all magical and having like golden platters with, you know, little violet merkabas spiraling above. And that was their offering for the first potluck, because we've let go of the victimization. We've let go of the wounding. We've let go of the scars and the rough edges from the journey. And when we come back to the first potluck after the Last Supper, that's our gift back into the center, back into the collective of the human story, the human heart, the human journey. And when it's presented in a way, and this is what the Renaissance was all about, the masters were presenting their morsel, their treasure from the journey through the 64 codons of the human DNA. The Mona Lisa, when I was in meditation one day, the guidance showed me the face of the Mona Lisa, and I went, oh my gosh, I get it. She's got all 64 codons activated. She did it. That's what the painting was showing. And so that's why the great masterpieces of the artists of the Renaissance affect everybody the same way the first potluck affects everybody, because when you bring that one little golden nugget back, it's so concise, it's so refined, it's created with ultimate discernment, it's quintessence, simple, and it's received by all. And that's the beauty of what your app is, where everyone can present that morsel. That's how we complete this story, is everyone's story gets to be told.
Yeah, that resonates. That really does. Yeah, it's almost like you said it earlier, you said something about the universe. I don't know how you put it, but you said the universe hasn't even experienced this, what we're doing. It's like, and I've always believed that. I believe, you know what, this place is so special, that we're actually on the outer edge of the universal breath, taking it to a place it's never been, by taking ourselves to a place we've never been. By expanding ourselves, we expand the universe. But now, like with what you're describing, it's almost like a living Akashic, it's and we can all dip into it, because we all know that when we do things within ourselves, it's affecting other people, it's affecting other souls. And so, in a sense, if you or I or someone breaks down an energetic door along the path, like so many have been, it makes it easier for the next people coming in, and so on and so on. Yeah. So this is great. What better 400th episode could you have? This has been an absolute incredible, full of activations, which is one of the goals of the show, is to activate each other, to exchange soul codes. But I'm with you. I believe Mary Lou just put it up, the new playground. I believe we're on a new playground. So I don't want to be misunderstood, but if a law's not real, borders are not real, for that, rules are not real. And if we make that conscious flip of the switch from ourselves, everything changes. And I think the best example is what you said about the RV, the financial reset. This is not happening. We saw that propaganda and or truth at the time, or a combination of both. Then we saw the crypto, and that was going to be plugged in, and we saw that come and go. And the love consciousness, the truth consciousness, was just not going to stand for it. So why would anything else be different? If what had us enslaved to the highest degree couldn't stand the love consciousness, then why the hell would anything else? It can't do it. It's like you said, go within, the power is within, make those choices within. And enough of us have done it to get us this far. What's going to happen? Let's go to Venus. Let's not follow the rules. What do kids do? They don't follow the rules. They go, what do they like at school? Recess. Yeah.
Imagination.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I don't know how long we have here, but can I touch on something else in this regard?
You go right ahead. We're freestyling here. There's no rules. This is Soulogy. There's no rules. We clean up our act a little bit, but let it roll.
All right. Okay. Well, there's many exciting pieces to share about this. First of all, the 60th gene in the 64 codons, the highest frequency, is called justice. And it is about the transcendence of the laws of this two-strand DNA reality. It's transcendence of all the laws. It's not saying that these laws are not legitimate. It's just saying that at a certain dimension, they're legitimate, and at a certain frequency, you go beyond them. That's where we are. That's why it's called justice in the highest frequency, because it's true justice, which means that there's the capacity to transcend out of it beyond time, space, and gravity. And who taught us this the best? Nikola Tesla. And he left us all the codes. And I have a dear soul father on this planet. His name is Ralph Ring. His beautiful partner is Marcia Brown. And years ago, I was a landscaper, and I was listening to a podcast, and I heard Ralph Ring speak for the first time. And Ralph was an apprentice to a man named Otis D. Carr, and Otis was Nikola Tesla's apprentice. Otis was a bellhop at the hotel where Nikola lived. And Nikola took Otis under his wing and started to teach him. And he gave him all of his things. When Nikola knew that the consciousness was not ready and that he was going to be removed from the collective, he gave everything he could to Otis, and he said, sit on this until you think the consciousness is ready. And part of what he gave Otis was the specs to build a teleportation device. And so in the late 50s, Otis started to amass a group of people around him, and Ralph Ring was one of those people, and Ralph was a young man at the time. And they all came together and they started to build this teleportation device. And they built a small version of it, and they took it to the car companies, and the car companies saw what was happening. They said, we want to build levitating cars. And the car company said, like, you're trying to undermine the economy of the world, we'll shut you down. So Otis got the whole troop back to the lab and said, boys, we got to finish this 45-foot craft, and we got to take it for a ride. So Ralph's story is about being chosen as one of the 3 people who was put inside the craft and did a teleportation. And when I heard Ralph interviewed, he was asked the question, how did you operate the craft? And he said, we loved it. We loved it while we constructed it, and we loved it while we interfaced with it. And I went, that guy is my soul dad, and I got to meet him now. And within weeks, I was staying with him and Marcia at their home, and Ralph was introducing me to all kinds of scientists and like cutting edge people. And he introduced me to this very brilliant man, and he said, I want you to go spend time with him. And I said, well, I will, Ralph, but to be honest with you, I don't know what I could bring to the table. This man is like a walking encyclopedia. And Ralph said to me, you need to understand something. You are bringing the most important piece. You're bringing the feminine energy, and you're bringing the love. And without that, none of this will happen. And so Otis wrote a book called The Dimensions of Mystery when they ended up being shut down by the quotation marks men in black at the time when they had successful teleportation. And Otis wrote a book called The Dimensions of Mystery, and it was like all these prose and poetry on nature, but it was really the coding of the craft that he coded into these poems. And he gave it to Ralph, and he said, sit on this, and when the consciousness is ready, bring it forth, because then the consciousness will be ready to create this craft. And so I was blessed to be walking into Ralph and Marcia's home the day a dear friend of ours in Australia was he had decoded the document, and he was sending through the first 10 pages. And I just had met Ralph and Marcia and walked in their house, and Ben phoned from Australia, and he's like, well, here it is, Ralph, here's the first 10 pages. And Ralph started to cry, and I was like, what is this? And he's like, it's the dimensions of mystery. This means the consciousness is ready for what this really means. And Ralph always said in his interviews, the craft is a lost leader, because by time people understand how it works, they'll realize they don't need an external technology to do this.
Yeah.
And so a very special document turned up a year ago. And it's a document that had been missing for a long time. And when it turned up, it said to me, not only are we ready to understand how our personal craft works, we're now ready to activate it. And the document has to do with Tesla. And it was the go-ahead. And what I found in my meditations in the last, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks, Nikola Tesla is constantly there giving the wink, saying, go for it.
Yeah. Love your way through it. Love your way. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to fear.
Yeah.
In Feverse, nothing.
How do you operate it? By loving it, right? Morgan just put up a quote, and she said, we create the golden particles by Todd's love for me. The more he loves, the more it's created, and then it's directed. it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And I love this story because it's true. It's true. We don't need the external technology. We have the ability to do this. And what a better way to go full circle than to say, well, not only have I learned to love myself, but whoa, look at this box of goodies I just opened up. Oh my God. It's like, that's quantum, after all of our journeys, and I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, we need to give ourselves some credit. We've come a long way. We've underestimated. That's part of the programming, that whatever we do just isn't enough. But, we've done a lot of work, and this is great validation. What you said, collectively, we've done enough to get to the tipping point, but to get to the point where you actually, you're not just aware of your divinity, but to actually embrace, and activate and actualize your skills and abilities, your limitless skills and abilities. This place is no different than anywhere else in the universe, other than where we came from. Our abilities are not only we're equal to any other place we've ever existed, but as you said earlier, we're moving the universal consciousness into places it's never been before. This is the box opening up. This is it. Yeah, I'm ready too. Has the teacher rung the bell for playground for recess yet?
It's wrong. I call it Flight Lessons 101 and stepping into the center of your mothership.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and I've watched this too, this evolution, and so much of the stuff we receive, it's so hard to put into words. And I'm a wordsmith, I'm a writer, but I saw this thing happening over the last month or so, last 6 weeks, especially with Morgan's arrival, and we've got a lot of community going on with Soulogy. But I was like, we're having these conversations, and I'm thinking, and somebody mentioned it one night. They said, it was one of the people in the audience. I think it was Carol Bennett, and she said, having this conversation is the problem, meaning like we're talking about shadows and we're talking about this. You know what? And I thought, whoa, light bulb went off. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. How do we get from here to there? But after listening to you today, and the tipping point, especially with the example, the hard external example of the RV and the reset, it's done. It's just a matter of us getting rid of that residual, that residual belief system, or whatever you want to call it. And the thing is, we can do that just like right away. And the more of us that do it, the more exponentially it grows.
The 60th gene. It's coded. This is Richard Rudd so beautifully described it in the 60th gene. He says, there's this great line, and I read it all the time. It says, when the 60th CD begins to ignite in multiple beings, it will be the ending of the world as we know it. Everything will indeed be revealed in its true sense, and the laws that hold together the earth will crack, and our planet will begin to transmute. It's known in esoteric schools as the Merkaba, or the Chariot of Light. It is the collective spirit of Gaia herself. Certain divine laws conceal the higher aspects of our own future from our view, but they are coded within us. We have to finally evolve to be able to see beyond them. And the two great laws we must evolve beyond are gravity and time. These two laws are not absolute, but completely relative to awareness. The binary helix, the double helix of our DNA, is microcosmically composed out of these two laws. DNA holds memory, and it acts as the living, evolving local structure for sentient life. Evolution demands time, and localization demands space. When awareness passes beyond these two laws, they are seen not as false, but as lower frequency signatures of a higher divine law. Beyond our human form, other realities and dimensions exist. The cosmos is teeming and abundant with interdimensional life forms. In more advanced forms of life, the mirror of DNA is no longer binary, meaning double, but a trinary helix. The triple helix unites all beings beyond space and time and frees awareness to travel unimpeded through the cosmos. It cannot be supported by a carbon-based life form. It requires a far subtler structure or vehicle, the underlying geometry of the universe itself. And there it is, coded right in our DNA.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So all, like you say, all we have to do is choose. Choose now.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly right. And it's fantastic to consider, but you know what? It's real. And those were the little bits of magic that I know on a personal level that I experienced, like so many of us, whether we were traveling or whether we were alone in our room doing the work, the little bit of magic when you made those choices, even if it was just compartmentalized in your life. I know Morgan spent 18 years connecting and writing and writing and writing, but those little places that we could see the magic, but it's wide open now. There's nothing holding us back. Somebody, Linda Good McGillis, 2-3 weeks ago on the show said we've ascended. It's done. It's done, and that's kind of the vibration. I can't put it into words, but that's where we're at. It's done. I see this creative, gigantic explosion occurring, and as the individual goes, so goes the collective. As the group, the soul tribe goes, so goes the collective. So, like to your point, you were talking to people all around the world yesterday saying, "I'm in bliss. I'm in bliss." Yeah, it's happy. It's here. It's here and now. And the thing is, it's in the moment that we drive this thing. It's every time you get on and you speak. It's every time you speak your truth. It's every time you do something from your heart. That's the power. Can't be measured by anything from where we came from. It can't.
Exactly. And there's one final piece I feel inspired to share, which is that in April, I was passing through the airports. I had spent about 6 weeks in Costa Rica, and that Costa Rica March was a super intense time for our inner alchemy. April, May, we've been doing massive inner alchemy, like lots of heat in the body. We are the alchemists. We've been turning the carbon base into silica, into light. And I was standing waiting to go through customs, and I was feeling a little bit of woe from a piece of my own story with the beloved. And the guidance just came in and said, I was like, why am I still suffering from this part of my story? And the guidance said, that's just because you're attaching your consciousness to time. Dissolve your relationship with time forever in this moment, and connect your consciousness back into the miracle, and you will never suffer again. Because the only thing that creates suffering is the belief in time, the belief that it takes from here to get somewhere, to get something, or to feel some way. And so even the word now, the guidance went, look, the power of now has been so copyrighted in books by spiritual people that even the word now has a delineation to linear time. So the guidance said, just start using the word miracle from now on. And so when I'm speaking, I say, I'll be there in 30 miracles, or it just started playing with the word miracle. And when I did it, what would happen was, like, I would screenshot my GPS, which would say I was going to arrive at 7:30 p.m. But I would write my friends and say, I'm arriving at 7:30 miracles. And I would arrive at 7 miracles instead of 7:30, because the association with time, I completely went, no, I'm done. I love you. Goodbye. Wow. Miracles, only miracles. And the 35th gene is miracles and wormholes. And so just incredible, like, miracles to go, there you go. There's the final key. And then recently the guidance came in and said, change your name from Unity Grace to Miracles Radiance, and just like be miracles, nonstop miracles. And that's where the fun begins. So it's another thing to invite people to play with, is just the word miracles. Use it to fill in any time word you may be saying miracles, 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 and miracles. Doesn't matter. That's where miracles begin.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, the words were used against us by our own unconscious self for so long. Let's be conscious of what we say. Let's create a new language. That's another thing I received years ago doing this thing from a flip phone. I kept hearing in my head, it's all in the words. I couldn't express it. I couldn't express what they were telling me or what I was receiving, but I was being told everything is being written. It was like that, what I talked about earlier, that living Akashic, the new Akashic, expanding Akashic. But it wasn't really even the words. It was behind the words, But yeah, I think that should be the name for what we call time, miracle, period. Just call it miracle. Yeah. The miracle in space. I don't know what space. I don't know what we use for that.
We just, like the 60th gene says, we go beyond time and we go beyond space. We really do. It's like the best kind of comparison maybe is the experience people get when they do a psychedelic journey, but it's a complete, or a plant medicine journey. It's a complete shift in the consciousness. It's a kind of experience that can't be expressed with the language here. And the guidance made it very clear in March. This exercise came through one day and the guidance said, have a conversation and don't use any word associated with time. So I was at the beautiful home of Cora Vida in Costa Rica. It's a communal property by created by James Sundance. And we were just bringing in major downloads. And so a group of us sat down and we tried to have this English conversation with no words associated with time. And we realized that everything in English is associated with time, from here to there. And, like all these connecting words, we were like, and then we started to just speak in this, what sounded like a very primitive way. And then all of a sudden we went, oh, we get it. The people we consider primitive are not primitive at all. They speak in the present. They don't have any languaging that says there's anything other than the moment. Yeah. And that in itself, then I started to see why, the missionaries went about and collected up all the indigenous children, threw them into the schools and beat them for speaking their language, because what was being ingrained into their consciousness was a consciousness that bound them to time and took them out of the present, which is how the root races on the planet exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Spaceless time and timeless spaces. I use that in several of my Soul Speaks poems. Yeah. Well, I want you to know that in 9 miracles, from 3 miracles to 9 miracles from today, we're going to be having an event. And I know this event's going to be very special. It's in Andover, New Jersey. We're going to have a stage show that's going to run about 6 to 9 miracles, just depending on how long we want to run. And if by some miracle you can join us there, that would be fantastic. I have a feeling many more people are going to come than we thought. More and more people are telling us every day. It's a very significant event. So I'm just throwing that out there. We're also going to be streaming some people in from around the world, but yeah, I have a feeling we'll be getting together again soon. I just feel this, and I think you know this. So this is great. Thank you so much on behalf of everybody, for your service all these years, these 8 years you've lived out of a suitcase, and before that, and climbing military fences and all the stuff that you've done. Thank you so much. And thank you for honoring us today with your presence and sharing space with us. Miracle. That is your name, right? It's not Unity Grace. It's Miracle, isn't it?
Yeah. The guidance said now that Miracles, Radiance, and Unity Grace could be used interchangeably. So I have lots of my friends calling me Miracle now. And the point being that when they're calling me Miracle, they're activating their own miracle. Yeah.
I think that's a word we can stick with for a while in this transition. Eventually they'll all go away, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I love you. I thank you. Such beautiful grace. I thank you for reaching out to me and holding space for me to come in. It's been a journey to people like you have helped me to communicate the message by just providing the platform and the patience for me to go, okay, finally I got a moment to connect in. Just such a beautiful being of love, you and Morgan, and what you're creating. I love the invitation. Let's talk in the next couple of miracles. And just to all the viewers, all the comments there, there's so many comments there. And to heaven on earth, here we are. And to love and beyond. It's what a gift to be granted this blessing to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Unity, grace, miracle, radiance. We'll be seeing more. We'll be collaborating more. We can feel it. It's in the ethers. Wishing everybody miracles tonight. No, miracles. Miracles on this miracle. Get the unicorns out.
You're good at this, y'all. Quick study.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I get something, I get it. It might take me a while, but you know what? Miracles. We're all miracles. I wrote a long time ago when I was a miracle and didn't know it. Several miracles ago. The soul is a miracle, born of a miracle to create miracles. I am soul.
Wow.
We'll end it that way tonight. Love you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That goes for everybody. Thank you.
Bless.
We'll see you later.